Demai Perek Bet, Mishnah Hey. Last Mishnah, we learned first about the Nachtomim, first about the bakers that were only chayav to take off Trumat Maaser. Okay, and then we learned about the difference between Chenvanim, storekeepers, and then we learned about Mashpi'im bin Midah Gasa, people who sold in larger quantities. The storekeepers were not permitted, if they were, of course, Chaverim, to sell Demai. But the Mashpi'im bin Midah Gasa, who were the Sitonot, the middlemen, i.e. the suppliers, okay, they were permitted to sell Demai. And the reason we explained was because since they sold in large quantities, Chachamim and Chazal realized it wasn't reasonable to expect them to sell, to take the loss of taking off Trumat Maaser and Maaser Sheni. Therefore, since their profit margin was small on each thing because they sold in such large quantities, they were not required to take off their Trumot. This Mishnah is a continuation of that Mishnah, and Rabbi Meir is going to add a different perspective, a very different idea, that it's not who's selling, but specifically it's more a question of what is he selling. Says the Mishnah, here's the Mishnah, says the Mishnah, Rabbi Meir Omer, Et shedarko lihimaded begasa, umedado bedaka, tfeila daka legasa. That which is sold lihimaded, measured, that which is measured begasa, in large quantities, umedado bedaka, but you sold it in small quantities, tfeila daka legasa. Tafel means it's subservient or secondary. The daka, the fact that you sold it in small quantities, is secondary to the gasa, i.e., this product is categorized as something that's sold in large quantities. And therefore, for example, if they sold grain in large quantities, usually, therefore, any grain, anyone who sold grain, it would be considered something that's darko li makir b'dakasa, and therefore you would not have to take off demai for that product. But conversely, darko li imaded b'daka, something normally sold bedaka in small quantities, umedado begasa, and you sold it in large quantities, tfeila gasa l'daka. In that case, let's say you're selling, I don't know, whatever it would be, dates, and you sold them individually, madrul dates, they were sold by weight or by piece, and you decided to sell in large quantities. Nonetheless, it is something that is sold in smaller quantities, and therefore, you would have to be mafrish for Demai. You would have to take off the extra trumot and ma'asot. Okay? The Kahati notes, I want to point out, the Kahati notes that there are different girsaot, different versions of this Mishnah. And basically, there's a version of this Mishnah, there's another girsa that says exactly the opposite, and reads that Rabbi Meir isn't coming to argue on the Chachamim of the last Mishnah, but to agree with them. You can look it up if you want. Okay, but we follow the girsa of the Bartanura, we follow the girsa of the Rambam, and the other girsa are the girsa of the Bartanura. Okay, you can look it up later on. Ezai midah gasa. What is a midah gasa? What is a large quantity? Biyavesh shalosh kabin. If it's yavesh, if it's a dry product, it's shalosh kabin. He says it's about 6 liters. Ubalach dinar. And if it's lach, it's the value of a dinar, which is safe to assume about the same quantity. Rabbi Yossi gives a third opinion. Salei te'inim v'salei anavim v'kupot shayerek. Baskets of te'inim, figs. Salei anavim, baskets of grapes. And boxes of yarak, of vegetables. Kol zman shu mochran achsara. As long as you sell them achsara. Achsara, what the word achsara means is, you sell them without a specific measurement. He says, lo b'midah v'lo b'mishkal, ela lefia omen. You sell them in a box. As long as you sell them you sell it in a basket, you sell it as a box, or whatever, you're not selling the actual weight itself. No, when we buy produce, we buy it we weigh it and then we pay for it. So, if this is produce that you sell as a quantity without actually measuring it, then it's patur from demai. Then it's exempt from demai. So we see a very interesting thing here. Rabbi Meir says that it was the product itself, not the person who was selling it. So if a chenvani was selling a product that's sold, and even if he sells it bidaka, nonetheless he's patur, he's exempt. So the Mishnah Eretz Yisrael, he mentions that later on, he mentions the Tosefta that comes after this. Okay? And the Tosefta says the following. I just want to quote you the Shita of the Tosefta. The Tosefta says later on, Rabbi Shimon Gamliel Omer Rabbi Yossi, Kli'al shel shum. Kli'al, remember, was tying a whole. It was like a bundle of garlic. And this is the things that we learned also in the Rabbi Yossi. Salei te'inim, baskets of figs or grapes or a box of yerek. Limin b'midah gasa. If it's above the value of a limin, which is a certain coinage, it was midah gasa. Milimin lemata midah daka. Limin less, it was a midah daka. And Mishnah Eretz Yisrael says that Rabbi Gamliel, he seriously minimized, he lowered the threshold for what midah gasa and midah raka was. That as time went along, it became more and more difficult for salesmen, for people, chenvani, to sell and still be mafrish the demai. Because the financial pressure was too great. If you had a chaver, you were a chaver, and the guy next to you in the store next to you was an amaretz, his produce was cheaper. Or a guy opened up shop, his produce was cheaper. Now, one way of dealing with that is saying, okay, then you don't have to be mafrish demai anymore. Another way of doing that was like the Tosefta was saying, of course you have to be mafrish, but we're just going to change the meaning of what it means to be dagasa. We're going to make midah gasa to be a lower amount, a smaller amount. It's very fascinating. You could see that as time went along, Chazal were more and more lenient towards the chenvani who needed to compete but also wanted to maintain the halacha. Okay, I want to dedicate this learning to the memory of my father, Harav Simcha ben Yitzchak Kalman, and if you have any comments or questions, contact me as always at arspolter@gmail.com. Have a great day.